Hi everyone, a little bit more serious video today because it talks about burnout and some of the real consequences. And I think one of the great things about software engineering and developing is the fact that we can basically do it anywhere, anytime, as long as there's a computer. And that's a good thing. I think that's a double-edged sword. It's so good to be able to do that. On the other hand, just the fact that we can do that means that we will do that, and if we don't, we feel guilty, and so on and so forth. Takuya Matsuyama, he's also known as Dev's Life on YouTube. He is the creator of the note-taking app InkDrop, and he's one of the reasons I started creating software engineering videos on YouTube. And I think a lot of people are inspired by him, really enjoy his videos. If you haven't seen his videos, yeah, check it out. It's super cool. It's super relaxing. It's really creative. And also it's just really fun too, just looking at it. And he seems like such a cool guy. So yeah, it's a little bit sad to see this and hear this, that even himself has an issue with low self-esteem and burnout. So it really kind of goes to show that it can happen to anyone. So yeah, I wanted to have a read at this just because he's one of my favorite creators, and also I think these issues are real issues. So the title is How Low Self-Esteem and Hyperfocus Drove Me to Burnout. It's by Takuya Matsuyama, also known as Dev's Life, on devs.life. Hey, this is Takuya. Recently, I pushed myself too hard on indie development and ended up sick, as I posted a video on my channel recently. My atopic dermatitis flared up badly, and my quality of life dropped sharply. It was like hell, literally. I'm still recovering, but I've been walking more than 10,000 steps every day and slowly getting better. To make sure I don't repeat the same mistake, I wanted to dig into why I tend to overwork myself. Mental health in indie development isn't something people talk about much, so maybe this reflection can help someone who's been in the same situation. I guess by design, indie development, you tend to just kind of work for yourself and with yourself. And I think because of that, it's not only that other people are aware of how you're going, but I think it's also quite difficult to know yourself how you are going. Because when you see yourself every day, and because the changes are gradual, it's not like you're fine, and you're overworked. It's more like sometimes you're tired, sometimes not, sometimes you're enthusiastic, energetic, you want to keep working, sometimes you don't want to work. I think there's ups and downs, and it just trending downwards is so hard to recognize that. So yeah, I think it's important to check on your friend, check on your family, and check on yourself too. Yeah, I recently went and took some time by myself, and I think that did a lot of good for me. So yeah, hope you're doing that too. So look, yeah, this is not only mental and also physical. His face and his hand. TLDR, looking back on my roots, how coding gave me a reason to live. My formative experience gave me an unhealthy motivation. Seeing it as an unfixable bug in my system, accepting myself just as I am, regardless of the app's success. Why I haven't given up. I'm basically optimistic despite it all. My users told me to rest, with no deadline. Life is long, don't die over app development. Looking back on my roots, it's been around 8 years since I started living solely off the app I built. People often call it a dream lifestyle, making a living from something you created yourself. And yes, I'm truly grateful for it. But behind the freedom and independence lies a quiet loneliness and a constant fear that no one will catch you if you fall. My app is a note-taking app, and this market is brutally competitive, a red ocean. The fear of losing users to competitors is always there, gnawing at the back of my mind. The reason I've kept going so obsessively with indie development comes from one deep personal experience. Back in college, I hit a dark period when my relationships suddenly started falling apart. Friends turned cold or rejected me. I was emotionally shaken, and things with my parents got worse too. I felt worthless, like I didn't deserve to exist, depressed. How coding gave me a reason to live. Even so, I somehow kept making little tools and uploading them to my website. One day, someone left a message on my site. Your software helped me solve my problem. Thank you. That single line shook me to my core. I originally started programming because I wanted to make an action RPG like The Legend of Zelda. Since development tools were scarce back then, I had to build everything. The map editor and the character designer. Through that, I learned how to make Windows app and eventually created small tools like P2P file transfer app and an automatic MP3 tagger. I kept doing this quietly throughout college. When someone said thank you to me for something I made, it was literally life-changing. It made me realize maybe I do have value. No one around me, not even my parents. So it's really hard to read because it's very emotional. Really, of course, I'm not saying bad thing about the writing. It's just that it's getting to me deeply. No one around me, not even my parents, really understood what I was doing. But that one message gave my life meaning. I think for this text, I'm just gonna read through as kind of my way of listening to him and as a respect for him opening up like this. So yeah, my formative experience gave me an unhealthy motivation. Inu-san suffering from conditional love for himself. On the surface, that sounds like an inspiring story, and it was, but it didn't solve my deeper problem, a lack of self-esteem. That experience gave me a conditional sense of self-worth. I only felt valuable if my users appreciated what I built. If not, I felt meaningless. My happiness was in other people's hands. I was dependent on users' approval. The bar was very, very high. If my work didn't gain attention, I sank into emptiness. And when it did gain attention, it faded quickly. There's no lasting self-esteem in that loop. So I kept pushing harder, chasing that feeling of validation again and again. My early success in indie development ironically became fuel for an unhealthy drive. It sounds kind of extreme, right? I think that's because it's one of my innate traits. My extreme hyperfocus that my mom was even worried. As I mentioned, I used to make games. I'll come home from school, eat dinner, and then stay glued to the computer, coding, composing, drawing sprites. One day, my mom asked me in a serious tone, "Why do you have to work that hard?" And I didn't have an answer. My head was just full of things I felt I needed to do, and I couldn't think about anything else. It was an insane solo challenge to build a full action game, and by the time I realized that, I was already graduating high school. Side note, before my high school entrance exams, my parents actually hid the keyboard so I wouldn't use the computer. I don't have ADHD, but once I get focused on something, I become tunnel visioned. Even when I'm exhausted, I tell myself just until it compiles, or just until I fix this bug. When I'm deep in code, I do ridiculous things, like walking into a closet thinking it's the bathroom, or biking to the gym and walking home, forgetting the bike entirely. If you've had similar experiences, take it as a warning sign, not a bragging right. This trait of mine definitely strengthened my belief that I'll only be happy if I succeed in indie development. Seeing it as an unfixable bug in my system, This overfocus clearly harms my health, but it's not something I can just fix. It's like a character in an RPG with severely unbalanced parameters, or a system where once you issue a command, you can't change it for 10 turns. That's just how I'm wired. I have no choice but to accept it. So I decided to treat this as trait as an unfixable bug in my system. There's an interesting idea in evolutionary medicine. Thoroughbred racehorses are bred for speed, but their bones became so thin and fragile that about 1 in 1,000 races ends with a broken leg. As writer Akira Tachibana puts it, perhaps our highly specialized mind, optimized for creativity or intelligence, come with the same kind of fragility. It's just an analogy, but it resonated with me. I may have a talent for building apps, but it came with the cost of this extreme focus. If I know from the start that I'm a car with great acceleration but weak brakes, then I can plan around it. Accepting myself just as I am, regardless of the app's success. A lack of self-esteem is a deep, complex personal issue. To fix my unhealthy motivation, I need to reframe that core experience, to accept that I'm a valuable person whether my app succeeds or not. And sure, I've read enough books to know this intellectually, but knowing it in your head, truly believing it in your heart are very different things. Because that old thank you message was such a powerful memory that it still defines my sense of worth. So it seems that learning to accept myself unconditionally might be a lifelong process, which would be something I will gradually get better at with age, or maybe finally understand right before I die. Maybe reliving my childhood through raising my kids will help heal those old wounds and feel that missing piece of self-esteem someday. While I haven't given up, I'm basically optimistic despite it all. Even though I lack self-esteem, when it comes to indie development, I somehow stay incredibly optimistic. No matter how hard I work on an app that ends up flopping, I don't stay down for long. I always think, well, I've done my best. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Whatever happens, happens. And release it. If it fails, I just analyze what went wrong and move on. Everything is an experiment. When I remind myself of that, even failure feels like data, something to learn from, not fear. This post itself is an experiment too. What happens if I talk openly about mental health? Let's find out. Even though overworking made me sick, it also forced me to pause and reflect deeply on my life. While enduring the relentless itch from my dermatitis, I've been thinking about video ideas and how I want to structure my comeback week. I'm planning to write another post about how I plan to work after recovery. My users told me to rest with no deadline. You might think that after all this pain, I'll want to quit indie development altogether. But no, not at all. As I said, I'm still an optimist. If I truly couldn't handle it, I would have gone back to freelancing long ago. But when my body started showing warning signs, I had already lost sight of the joy in working on the project. I was obsessed with competition, anxious about the user churn graphs, and couldn't stop thinking about the app even in bed. I wasn't resting properly. One big reason was the fear that if I stopped developing, users would abandon me immediately. But when I finally gathered the courage to announce a break, I received messages like this. Phil Coder said, "Hi Takuya, I'm sure no one expects you to get back to work as soon as possible and continue developing the app. So please don't limit yourself to just a week or two. Rest until you feel completely fine. As someone who also sees himself as productive like you, I can easily say that free time isn't such a bad thing. There's a unique feeling in having a period where your mind is completely free from work. I'm also quite sure that the longer the break you take, the better you'll feel. If I were you, I'll treat this illness as an opportunity and keep on idling for a while even after I had fully recovered. Hope you get well soon." Brandon O said, Takuya-san, there is no need to explain. Please take care of your health before anything else. You don't owe anyone any explanation. I understand the need to document and report to your fans, but never feel obligated. It's a good to know for us fans, but for you, I'm sure you feel the pressure and stress to not want to disappoint us for not sticking to your regular posting schedule. Never apologize, and I wish you a speedy recovery. Continue to post whenever you're feeling better, physically and mentally. Take as long as a break you need. The community's response was overwhelmingly positive. Not a single ink drop is dead comment. Instead, most people said, take a proper rest. That really moved me. As I rested, I felt my mind settling down and my perspective widening again. I'll write another entry about how that rest changed me mentally and physically. Life is long. Don't die over app development. In this article, I looked back on my past to understand why I tend to overwork myself. Did any part of it resonate with you? What early experiences shaped your motivation to work? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for reading. Inkdrop is a markdown focused note-taking app for developers. I've been developing for over 8 years now. If you're looking for a notes app, check it out. It's I think something about his videos and something about his writing. The writing is very, I don't know, it's very straightforward, let's say, but it just carries a lot of emotions, I feel like, because of that. Yeah. Of course, mental health, it just doesn't go just to go for developers, but it goes for a lot of people. And yeah, burnouts like this, it's really hard to spot, and I think it's really important to regularly check on yourself, regularly check on your loved ones, and yeah, and I think it's really important to do that. I think because we're so passionate about what we do and we love what we do, sometimes I think we lose track of how important that is. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that you're getting lazy. In fact, I think over time, I think the lazy way would be to just sprint, like treat it like a sprint, keep going, but like the turtle that just keeps going slowly every day will beat the rabbit that just sprints. Sorry for this the camera is not it's kind of yucky with my nose and crying, but yeah, so it's a great reminder for us all, I think, us students, us people working, doing side hustles and learning every day, improving every day. That's of course so important, but I think physical health and mental health over everything. So I sincerely hope that you're all doing good and that you continue to do good. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.